say all good things come to an end. Looks like the vacation is over and it's time for yours truly to get back to work. Good evening, Mr. Zhee here. Well, here we are. And so here we are. This is Halloween, or so they say. I'm going to throw something in the gumbo. That is, two tales for the occasion. Our first tale is a little something for the flirtatious ones of you out there. Some would say, what's the harm in a little friendly flirt? But sometimes you have to be careful what you wish for, and where you tell Cupid to aim his little arrow. This one we call Monster Jar.
Monster Jar. The wind chime bell above the door sounded as the man walked into the small eclectic gift store. The shop was filled with everything. There were floor displays full of crystal and ceramic figurines, small trinkets, souvenir-type photo prints and postcards, antique mirrors, assorted novelty items, and shelves lined with both typical and unusual-shaped jars one would expect to see in a shop like this. The man looked about the store, walking through the aisles at first, until he happened to notice the young lady at the counter who had been watching him browse. "Hello there. Are you finding everything okay, or was there something specific you are looking for?" "Thank you, and hello there yourself. I was looking for a gift of some kind for one of my clients. You seem to have quite a bit of unusual yet charming things in here. Are you the owner?" She smiled at him and gave him a friendly response. "Oh no. I just work here. My aunt owns the shop. What kind of gift were you looking for?" Now that he had shifted his attention to her, he gave her a compliment for his answer instead of directly answering her question. "The gift of conversation with a beautiful young lady whom I don't yet know by name. My name is Gino. What would be yours?" With a slight blush while still attempting to help him decide on a purchase, she responded to his compliment. "People call me Talus." "Thank you for the kind words," he responded with a smile of his own. Talus. What an unique name. "It's short for Talisiania, but people always mess up the pronunciation, so I make it easy for them," she said. "That's good to know. I hope you can make it easy for me to invite you to have a drink with me," he offered while matching her hospitality with his proposition attached. "That's sweet, but I have to say no to your invitation, sir. So, what kind of gift did you have in mind? Is it a birthday or some other kind of special occasion?" Talus was putting the focus back where it needed to be. Okay, I get it." Gino laughed but wasn't done quite yet. "So you want me to buy something first? When I do, then can we get to the good part and be friends? I promise not to bite, at least not right away." Talus was friendly but still not receptive to the young man's advances. "You're funny. I'd love for you to buy something because you like it and it's what you had in mind when you came in the store, but I don't date customers. Sorry." Gino pulled back a little but still left a hook. "I understand, but I must warn you, I don't give up so easily. For now, I'll take this jewelry box. It's for one of my clients who is a jewelry dealer. It will be perfect. Can you gift wrap it?" Now that the conversation was back to center point, she resumed taking care of business, but remained friendly. "See there, I'm sure your client will love it. What exactly do you do?" "I'm an international sales broker for fine-line high-end jewelry, commodities, and cryptocurrency trading," he said matter-of-factly, as if to cut off any personal interest in her like cutting off a water faucet. "Nice," she said, then thanked him for his purchase as she handed him his bag with the gift-wrapped jewelry box which he had watched her wrap. She was offering him her flavor of small talk, but actually leaving an opening while playing hard to get. At least that's how Gino interpreted it. He knew the game, and he was more than willing to play along. He was a handsome man in his mid-30s, well-groomed and well-tanned with a Mediterranean appearance. Some people had told him he looked like a younger George Clooney, to which he would always be quick to quip, "Clooney wished he looked this good." He was a cocky SOB, and he knew it. He considered himself a skilled craftsman with the ladies and a natural charmer. To him, only the first no meant not interested, and any after that over time would turn into an, "I know you'll be in my world and eventually my bed. It's just a matter of time." He was casting that type of energy at Talus while continuing to pour on the charm. I want to thank you, Talus, and let you know I shall return for my gift. Enjoy your day, my dear, till we meet again, he said as they made eye contact and exchanged smiles. Then he exited the shop. She watched him until he was out of view, then went back to reading the book she was engaging when he first walked in. Gino was a nice-looking man indeed. Of that there could be no doubt, she thought to herself as she resumed her day. Over the next few days, he returned to the store several times, each time with a new line, a new promise of how good they could be together. He offered daytime and safe space dates and made sure to state his intentions were only to get to know her as a friend, first. They both knew better, and each time she politely but firmly turned him down. He would bring her a single yellow and pinkish rose sometimes, and proclaim it as a symbol of their future friendship, as he put it. They both knew what he wanted, and Talus let herself have fun being entertained with Gino on his visits, because he would always buy something expensive from the gift shop, and his persistence, as well as the attention, was never too inappropriate. Then one day something changed. Gino didn't know it at first, but was pleasantly surprised this day by Talus's response to his advance. On this day she was different. Her smile was warmer, more inviting. She looked up from her book when he walked in, her eyes meeting his with a spark of interest that hadn't been there before. "Back again?" she asked, her voice softer, almost teasing and definitely with a welcoming tone. "You know me. I can't resist a beautiful woman," he said, moving closer to the counter. "Your knight in shining armor that you keep turning away has returned again. But alas, fair maiden, I did saith I would not giveth up." He had feigned some sort of medieval accent intended to make her laugh, and she did. "You are crazy," she said while laughing at his act. There were no other customers in the store at the time, and she allowed herself to crack up at his latest performance. She tilted her head, considering him for a moment before nodding slowly. "Maybe I was too quick to judge. What did you have in mind? For us, if I decide to say yes?" His grin widened, the thrill of victory lighting up his dark eyes. "Well, I was thinking a nice dinner. Maybe a walk by the river afterward. I know a place just outside of town that's perfect for a little privacy, for nice, friendly conversation." She laughed again, this time a little more subdued, and caught him off guard with her response. "I have a better idea. Why don't we skip the formalities? Come to my place tonight. I live in a cottage just outside of town. We can have that private conversation you're talking about." He raised an eyebrow, surprised by her sudden change of heart, but eager to take advantage of it. "Now you're talking. I like the way you think. What time?" He had dropped the Sir Lancelot routine he was using before. He knew it would never be needed again after tonight if things went according to his plans. 8:00. I'll leave the door unlocked." He winked at her, already imagining how the night would go. "I'll be there." Later that evening, he pulled up. The cottage was quaint and isolated, nestled at the edge of a thick forest. The moonlight filtered through the trees, casting long, eerie shadows across the path leading up to the door. He arrived at 8 sharp, just as she had instructed. The door was, indeed, unlocked. He pushed it open, stepping into a cozy but dimly lit room. Candles flickered on every surface, their flames casting dancing shadows on the walls. The air was thick with the scent of herbs and aromas similar to the gift shop where they first met. "Come in, Gino," her voice called from deeper inside the cottage. "I'm just finishing up." He followed her voice, finding her in a small kitchen at the back of the house. She was stirring something in a pot on the stove, her back to him. She turned as he entered, a smile on her lips. She was even more beautiful in her natural habitat. Her red hair was gleaming, and she had let it down so that it reached the middle of her back. She was a small-framed woman, yet curvy in all the right places with an earthy bohemian look. She was wearing a tie-dye patterned electric blue skirt and a thin cotton light lavender blouse, which she had tied in a knot to reveal her navel, which was pierced. He noticed she was not wearing a bra, so he was already making assumptions about how this evening would be. It seemed her freckles were even more apparent than what he observed on his visits to the shop, and she had a beauty mark mole on the side of her right cheek, which he had almost not noticed before at all. There she was now, standing in her kitchen, barefoot and enticing. He thought to himself, I knew you would give in. It's always just a matter of time. Here you are, Gino, she said, lifting a glass of wine from the counter and handing it to him. Here, have a drink. He took the glass, swirling the dark liquid before taking a sip. It was sweet and rich, with an aftertaste that lingered on his tongue. What type of wine is this? I don't recognize the taste. It's from the old country, a family recipe you could say from my grandfather's cellar. That was all she offered him. Well, you sure know how to take care of a man. Gino was back to charmer-seducer mode. She laughed again, that same soft, almost musical sound. I do what I can. They talked for a while, the conversation flowing easily as the wine loosened his tongue. He flirted with her, more boldly now, his words dripping with promises of what the night would bring. She responded in kind, her eyes never leaving his as she slowly drew him in. They say the hunter sometimes gets captured by the game without even knowing it. Finally, she stood, taking his hand and leading him to a small room off the kitchen. I want to show you something, she said, her voice hushed, almost reverent. They walked into her bedroom. There was a shelf similar to some of the ones he had seen at the gift store. At first glance, he noticed row after row of mason jars, with each one having a brown wrapper around them. It looked like stock overflow from her shop, and he paid it no mind since it didn't look out of the ordinary. Other than that, the room was lined with shelves, each one filled with figures and novelty items like what he also had seen at her store. She had a king-sized bed, even though she had a small petite frame. This would be all right, he thought, as he let himself imagine all their soon-to-be activities. There was what looked like an antique upholstered armchair, and he noticed a closet with what looked like a genuine oak door. It too looked like it was antique, but had been immaculately restored. This is cozy. No wonder you were playing hard to get with me. It looks like you play hard, period. Gino felt relaxed now, and since he was here at her invitation, and the evening had been going well so far, it was time for the indecent proposals and hints. He was feeling a little buzz from the wine, but he was in full control of his libido and ready like a fireman. Tallis smiled as if to ignore his last comment. Instead, she started steering him toward the closet door. There will be plenty of time for us to get better acquainted. First, I'd like to show you something. Are you ready? She reached for the door handle with one hand while holding Gino's hand with the other. He said to her with uber confidence, Ready for you, my sweet. I was born ready. He moved to embrace her, but she quickly turned and maneuvered to open the closet and walk him in. The hunter and game had now completely reversed roles. They were standing in her closet. It was much bigger inside than he thought. On one side there was her wardrobe, but on the other side were more shelves and more jars. These jars were different, as there was no brown wrappers on these, but instead, labels with handwriting. Although he was starting to really feel lightheaded and his vision starting to blur, he still caught sight of something moving in the jars. She was just standing there observing his attention on the jars as he released her hand and moved in closer to see there were some weird-looking critters in each jar. They were all small, but of varying size, from 4 to 7 inches in height. Some of these creatures looked so grotesque, he almost thought they were toys. One thing they all had in common was that they were all looking at him. Some were turning their head away from him, as if to hide their face, while others appeared to be waving him off while pointing at Tallis. Other than their appearance, they all had human appendages, and surprisingly, were wearing what looked like ordinary men's clothing. As he continued to look closer at these creatures, the one most closest to him slammed his hands and face against his glass and lip-synced, "Help me," while looking Gino directly in the eyes. It startled him and caused him to jump back. Just as he turned to ask Tallis what these were, he felt as if a hammer had hit him over the head. He felt his legs collapse as he fell to the floor. What What are they? He was now muttering in a state of confusion and shock. He tried to reach for her leg to balance himself as she stepped back and just stood there over him with this now sinister smile on her face. They are monsters just like you, Gino. She continued to smile, but it was even more cruel and cold. I've been hurt before, you see. Betrayed, abandoned. Men like you. You're all the same. Charming, handsome, full of promises. But in the end, you all do the same thing. You were thinking we'd have some good times in my bed and you would leave when you were finished, although I must admit, you were the patient type. I've seen it all before. The closet was spinning as he was losing focus, as the wine took hold of him, as he felt himself losing consciousness. What did you do to me? I drugged you, of course. But that's just the beginning. She stepped closer, her voice low and filled with a dark promise. I'm going to make you small, so small that you will fit in one of these jars as well as the others. See, I already have one with your name on the label. You promised me you wanted to spend quality time with me. Now you will get your chance. You'll be just another in my monster jar collection. And because of the special ingredient in your wine, you won't age, so you will have a lot of time here with these who came before you. He tried to fight, to resist, but he was starting to black out. The last thing he heard was Talus chanting in a language he didn't understand, her hands weaving intricate patterns in the air. The room seemed to close in on him, the walls pressing down, suffocating him. Strangely enough, he could see everything occurring as if in a lucid dream, but was otherwise powerless. He watched everything getting bigger all around him. Talus was now looming over him. She was once a petite-sized woman, but now to him, she was a giant. As she reached for him, he still felt pain lancing through his body, and he began convulsing as the transformation took hold. His skin rippled, his bones shrinking, twisting. He saw what was once his fingers now turning into what looked like a small rodent's fingers similar to a raccoon. He tried to scream, but all that came out was a pitiful squeak. Everything finally went black. When the pain finally stopped and he came to, he was no longer a man. He was a tiny, misshapen creature, barely the size of a mouse, still standing upright on two legs. He looked up at her, his mind still his own, trapped in this monstrous new form. He was now in his jar alongside the others. The creature that was begging him for help was now his neighbor, and looking at him with what appeared to be sad eyes, although whatever it was he was, Gino had never seen before. Talus tapped on the side of his jar to get his attention. She crouched down, her face level with his, and smiled that cold, cruel smile once more. Welcome to your new home, valiant Prince Gino. Do maketh yourself comfy, my would-be paramour. She was mocking him with a medieval accent of her own reminiscent of the one from a few days ago he used while pursuing her. Unlike her from the prior day, he was not in the least bit amused. She tapped on his jar once more before standing up and turning away from him towards the door. She exited from her closet, humming softly to herself as she pulled a string that left a small red naked light bulb on, leaving him and the others to ponder their misery. He now realized with growing horror that he was just one of many in the row of jars on this shelf, and the shelves went from closet floor to ceiling. The other creatures in the jars that he could see looked at him with dead, empty eyes. Victims, like him, of a woman who had turned her pains and failures into a warped, nightmarish vengeance. Unfortunately for Gino, he was awake, and it was all too real as the distorted nose on his face. And now he would spend the rest of his life as part of her collection.
That was a cautionary tale indeed. No means no, or in Gino's case, no better next time. Our next tale from the vault is about the price of vanity. They say if you have it, flaunt it. Our lady at the center of it all is going to find out what it means to have the look everybody wants, and what it costs to be the boss, as it were. In this one, titled Selfie Queen.
Selfie Queen. Rachel Newman's manicured fingers glided across her iPhone screen, her dark eyes fixed on her own reflection. At 34, she was still stunning. All high cheekbones, full lips, and rich mahogany skin that seemed to glow from within. But lately, the first whispers of age were beginning to show. A fine line here, a hint of a wrinkle there. Nothing her 5.2 million Instagram followers would notice, not with the right filters and lighting. But Rachel noticed, and it terrified her. No, they muttered, deleting the latest selfie. The lighting in her Buckhead penthouse was all wrong today, washing out her deep skin tone and hiding the natural highlights in her meticulously maintained locks. She needed something more. Her eyes fell on a flyer she'd snagged from a trendy midtown coffee shop last week. Vanita's Salon, where beauty meets magic, it proclaimed in swelling script. She'd meant to throw it away. After all, she had a team of top-tier stylists who specialized in black hair and beauty at her beck and call. But desperate times called for desperate measures. An hour later, Ray strode into Vanita's salon, her Dior heels clicking against the polished hardwood floors. The place was empty save for a woman arranging flowers at the reception desk. To Ray's surprise, the woman's skin was a deep, rich tone that seemed to glow with vitality. "I'm here for Vanita," Ray announced, not bothering with pleasantries. The woman turned, revealing striking silver locks and eyes that seemed to shift color in the light. Her face bore the wisdom of years, but her skin was smooth and radiant. When she spoke, her voice carried a lilting Caribbean accent. "I am Vanita. Do you have an appointment, Miss Newman? Rachel Newman, but everyone calls me Ray." She flashed her most dazzling smile, the one that had landed her cosmetics contracts with major beauty brands and covers of magazines like Essence and Ebony. "I'm sure you've heard of me. 5 million Instagram followers. I'm doing a piece on hidden gem salons in Atlanta, and yours made the cut. Congratulations." Vanita's expression remained neutral. "I'm afraid I don't follow social media, Miss Newman, and I only see clients by appointment." Ray's smile faltered slightly, but her eyes narrowed as she studied Vanita more closely. "Hold up. You said you're Vanita? As in the owner? But the flyer said this place has been around for decades. You can't be more than... what? Early 50s? A small, enigmatic smile played on Vanita's lips. "Age is but a number, child. I've been blessed with good genes and better secrets." "Secrets, huh?" Ray leaned in, suddenly intrigued. "Look, I'm willing to pay triple your normal rate. I need a new look for my hair. I want something that'll break the internet. Can you do that or not?" For a moment, Vanita was silent, her gaze uncomfortably penetrating. Then, with a small nod, she gestured to a chair. "Very well. Let's see what we can do for your locks." As Vanita worked, Ray couldn't resist the urge to document the process. She snapped selfies, live-streamed little snippets, and complained loudly about the salon's lack of Wi-Fi. "My followers are going to love this," she said, pouting at her phone camera. "So vintage, so authentic." "Perhaps," Vanita murmured, her hands moving with practiced grace through Ray's locks, "you might consider experiencing the moment rather than curating it for others." Ray rolled her eyes. "Honey, in my world, if it's not posted, it didn't happen. But seriously, what's your real age? You've got to be what, late 60s, early 70s? But your skin, it's flawless." Vanita chuckled, a sound like warm honey. "In my culture, we believe true beauty comes from within. But I suppose I could attribute some of it to an old family recipe." "Family recipe?" Ray perked up. "Like a cream or something?" "Something like that," Vanita said cryptically, continuing her work. Hours passed and finally Vanita stepped back. It's done. Ray leaned forward, staring at her reflection in the ornate mirror. Her locks were now a masterpiece, styled in an intricate updo that somehow made her look at least 5 years younger. The color was rich and multi-dimensional, bringing out golden undertones in her skin. But it wasn't enough. It was never enough. "It's fine," she said, her voice dripping with feigned disappointment. "I expected more from the miracle worker of Atlanta. That's what they call you, right?" Vanita's reflection showed a fleeting frown before her face settled into a serene smile. "The style will settle beautifully over the next day or two. Now, about the payment." "Payment?" Ray laughed, pulling out her phone. "Darling, I have over 5 million followers. One post from me will bring you more business than you can handle." She angled her phone, pouting slightly as she snapped a selfie. "I'm doing you a favor." The room seemed to darken, the air growing thick with the scent of aromatic oils and something older, earthier. Vanita's eyes, previously a warm brown, now gleamed with an unnatural light. "You mistake my kindness for weakness, child. There is always a price to be paid for beauty." Vanita's words caused a chill to run down Ray's spine, but she shrugged it off. She'd finessed plenty of dramatic stylists before with her style of manipulation. "Whatever. Thanks for the hair. I might be back if I don't find someone better." As she stood to leave, Vanita's hand shot out, gripping Ray's wrist with surprising strength. "Wait, a parting gift for our most memorable client." She pressed a small jar into Ray's hand. "A special cream for your eyes. Use it sparingly and never more than once a day. The effects can be intense." Ray's eyes lit up, remembering Vanita's earlier words about a family recipe. "So this your secret, huh? Fine, I'll try it. Thanks." Zhee breezed out of the salon, already plotting her next post. The real work of an influencer was just beginning. Back in her bucket penthouse, Ray examined the jar of cream. The label was handwritten in an elegant yet old-fashioned script. "Vanita's vision for eyes that captivate." No list of ingredients, no instructions. Typical of that old-school salon. "Well, let's see if this family secret is worth anything," she muttered, unscrewing the lid. The cream inside was an iridescent brown, with swirls of gold that seemed to move of their own accord. The scent was intoxicating, like cocoa butter, and something undefinable that reminded her of the aroma of sandalwood. Ray dipped her finger in, scooping out a generous dollop. Vanita had said to use it sparingly, but when had less ever been more? She slathered it around her eyes, gasping at the cool tingle that spread across her skin. That's not bad," she murmured, blinking rapidly as her eyes began to water. "Must be some kind of plumping effect." She reached for her phone, ready to document the process for her followers. The moment she saw herself on the screen, Ray's jaw dropped. The fine lines around her eyes had vanished. Her skin glowed with an otherworldly radiance, the rich brown taking on a golden sheen. And her eyes, they seemed bigger, brighter, almost hypnotic. "Holy shit," she whispered, snapping picture after picture. With trembling fingers, she posted the best one to IG. The caption read, "New secret weapon straight out to ATL. Hashtag Black Girl Magic, hashtag Flawless Skin, hashtag No Filter." Within seconds, the likes and comments started pouring in. "Oh my gosh, Ray, you look 21 again!" "What is this sorcery? Drop the skincare routine, sis." "Spill the deets, Ray. I need this in my life." Ray grinned, her earlier irritation at Vanita forgotten as well as her finesse move. This was going to change everything. Over the next week, Ray's follower count skyrocketed. Every selfie she posted with Vanita's cream broke her previous records for engagement. Sponsorship offers flooded her inbox. Beauty brands, fashion lines, even Tyler Perry's studio looking for the next big thing. But there was a problem. The effects of the cream seemed to fade faster each time. What had lasted a full day now barely made it through a photo shoot at Piedmont Park. And the itching, God, the itching was driving her mad. Just a little more, Ray muttered, digging her fingers into the now half-empty jar. She smeared a thick layer around her eyes, ignoring the burning sensation. The relief was instant as she looked at her phone screen. Young, flawless, perfect. She had a live stream scheduled in 5 minutes from the rooftop of Ponce City Market. As she set up the lighting, a notification popped up on her phone. It was from her younger sister, Nakia. Ray, Mom's worried. You haven't returned her calls in weeks. Are you okay? Ray dismissed the notification with a flick of her finger. Family drama could wait. Right now, she had an empire to build. The stream started and Ray flashed her most dazzling smile at the camera. Atlanta's skyline glittering behind her. Hey, gorgeous people, who's ready for some real talk about beauty in the A? Comments flooded the chat, but one caught her eye. What's wrong with your eyes? Ray's heart skipped a beat. What do you mean, Queen? My eyes are fine, better than fine, thanks to my new secret weapon. She winked at the camera, but her eyelid felt heavy, sluggish. More comments rolled in. No, for real, something looks off. Are you okay, Ray? You look a bit different. We think this filter is glitching. There's no filter, Ray snapped, her composure cracking. This is all natural, all me. You're just hating because I've found the fountain of youth, and you're all still using drugstore garbage. She ended the stream abruptly, her hands shaking as she reached for her compact mirror. What she saw made her scream. The skin around her eyes was red and swollen, the lids drooping heavily, but in the camera on her phone, she still looked flawless. No, she whimpered, reaching for the jar of cream. This will fix it. It has to. As she dipped her fingers into the jar, she panicked as she realized that it was empty. She freaked out. Ray ransacked her apartment, searching for any trace of the miraculous cream. Nothing. She frantically dialed the number for Vanita's salon. No answer. Damn it, she screamed, hurling her phone across the room. She caught a glimpse of herself in the full-length mirror and froze. The person staring back at her was a stranger. Eyes sunken and surrounded by angry red welts. Skin ashy and dull. But when she looked down at her own phone, the image on the cracked screen showed her as flawless as ever. She had to get more of that cream, and she had to get it now. Ray threw on a pair of oversized sunglasses and a head wrap, barely recognizing herself as she slipped out of her building. The streets of Atlanta were a blur as she made her way to Vanita's salon, ignoring the strange looks from passers-by on Peachtree Street. The bell above the door chimed as Ray burst into the salon, her breath coming in ragged gasps. The shop was dark, seemingly abandoned. Dust motes danced in the pale light filtering through the grimy windows. Vanita, Ray called out, her voice cracking. I know you're here. I need more cream. Silence answered her. Frantically, she began opening drawers and cabinets, searching for any trace of the miraculous product that had brought her so much success, and now so much terror. Looking for something, child. Ray whirled around. Vanita stood in the doorway to the back room, her silver locks glowing in the dim light. Her eyes, once warm and inviting, now seemed to take on a glowing amber hue. The cream, Ray gasped. stumbling towards the older woman. "Please, I need more. I'll pay anything. I'll promote your salon for a year. No, 5 years." Vanita's laugh was cold and brittle, echoing with an accent that suddenly seemed much older and more sinister than before. "Oh, child, you still don't understand, do you? The price has already been paid." "What are you talking about? What price?" Ray demanded, her panic rising. With a wave of her hand, Vanita summoned a full-length mirror. Ray's reflection made her recoil in horror. Her once flawless skin was mottled and ashen, stretched tight over protruding bones. Her eyes, sunken deep into their sockets, were almost completely swollen shut. "No," Ray whimpered, reaching out to touch the mirror. "This isn't me. It can't be." "But it is," Vanita said, her voice devoid of sympathy. "This is the reflection you cast, child. Your true reflection." Ray fumbled for her phone, pulling up her Instagram profile. There she was, still flawless, still young. Hundreds of thousands of likes on her latest post. Comments gushing over her timeless beauty. "I don't care what I look like in real life," Ray hissed, clutching her phone like a lifeline. "As long as I'm beautiful online, that's all that matters. Fix this now." Vanita's eyes narrowed, the air around her shimmering with ancient power. "Very well, child. You want online beauty. You shall have it. Forever frozen, never to change." Before Ray could react, Vanita grabbed her by her face, with her thumbs briefly closing Ray's eyelids as she held them long enough to say sternly, then released Ray's face, "You have asked for that which you seek at all cost, and until the end of your days you will know." Ray screamed as she felt a searing pain around her eyes. She reached for her eyes, but something felt different now. It was as if invisible needles were stitching her eyelids shut, the skin fusing together. "What have you done to me, you old bitch?" There was no answer. Ray shrieked, clawing at her face. But it was too late. Where her eyes had been, there was now only smooth, unbroken skin. Ray stumbled blindly, her hands outstretched. She tripped and fell, her phone clattering to the floor beside her. As she lay there, sightless and horrified, she heard the ping of a notification. With trembling hands, she grasped her phone, muscle memory guiding her fingers to unlock it and open Instagram. She held it up, unknowingly capturing her transformed face in its camera. The post uploaded automatically. Ray lay there unseeing, as her phone began to vibrate continuously with an influx of notifications. Unbeknownst to her, her followers were witnessing her grotesque transformation in real time. Her eyes now seamlessly sealed shut, the skin smooth and unbroken. But the comments flooding in were not of horror or concern. "Oh my gosh, Queen Reye, living your best life in the A? Slay, this look is everything. I need your skincare routine ASAP. Goals as fuck, how do you keep getting more beautiful? Your eyes are amazing." The likes and comments poured in, each notification a mockery of Ray's unseen agony. Her followers, enchanted by the cursed beauty they saw on their screens, remained oblivious to her true fate. In the darkness of the abandoned salon, Ray screamed and cried out as she blindly clawed and crawled around on the floor. She then heard Vanita's voice. "You will now wear your vanity forever." Then silence. Ray continued yelling and calling her name, but there was only the sound of a pinging phone. Outside, Atlanta continued to buzz with life, unaware of the horror that had unfolded in the small salon. And on thousands of screens across the city and beyond, Ray's last post continued to gather likes, her unseeing eyes staring out at a world she would never see again.
So there you have it. Ray now knows that while beauty is in the eye of the beholder, you have to have the eyes to see it in full clarity, which, unfortunately, she no longer has. That's all for now, this season of Halloween. But there will be more, much more to come from the vault, so do stay tuned, Seeker. Until we meet again.